Forget gurus. Forget anyone claiming to be an online business expert without going through the challenges of entrepreneurship themselves. The Real Money, Real Business podcast is here to prove the best insights in online business comes from your fellow online business builders. We dig into stories of entrepreneurs selling their business on the Empire Flippers marketplace so that you can learn how they made their business profitable, how they overcame obstacles, and what lessons they learned in their online journey. If you want to take your business and your knowledge to the next level, you've come to the right podcast. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, Vinny here with another great business to discuss on this episode of the Real Money, Real Business podcast. Today's guest is Anthony, and he's selling his Amazon FBA business on the Empire Flippers marketplace. So welcome to the show, Anthony, and how are you doing today?
Hi, thank you very much. I'm doing fine. Great to be here.
That's fantastic. We're really looking forward to talking more about your business. Just before we dive in, let me go just a really brief summary. Your business is an Amazon FBA and e-commerce in the automotive niche, created in May 2017. The average monthly revenue for the business is $129,263, and it makes an average of $15,669 per month in net profit. The assets included in the sale are 9 domains and all of the site content and files. Just note that one of these domains is a 301 redirect. The Amazon Seller Central account with 95 SKUs, an email list with 3,500 subscribers, trademarks in the US and EU, e-commerce storefronts in bol.com, eBay, WooCommerce, and Cdiscount, supplier contracts and relationships, and social media accounts. Just note that inventory is not normally included in the list price. Further details can be provided to active depositors. For everyone listening, you can visit empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing 47864 to learn more about the business. Or you can unlock this listing to start your due diligence if you're interested in purchasing this asset. So now that I've given a general overview of the business, Anthony, can you tell us a little bit about your background in building and running online businesses?
Sure thing. Thanks for the great introduction. I've been working on the online or digital world for quite some time, mainly for multinational companies in the software and consulting background. And I suppose I've always been an entrepreneur at heart. And I already had given up my corporate career, if you will, to run a real estate business. But I kind of missed the digital world. So I thought I would re-enter it with an FBA business or an e-commerce business. And that's how everything started. I just missed the digital world. So yeah, I had some experience in e-retailing and e-commerce from my previous jobs. So I thought I would give it a go to this Amazon world.
Yeah, that sounds absolutely great. It sounds like must have developed quite a lot of skills in your professional career journey up to date. Can I ask, why did you choose this niche, in the automotive niche in particular?
Yeah, it's a good question. I would tap actually on the previous one. Yeah, I think I did develop some good set of skills, but to be honest, you never prepare to the set of skills that it requires to run a small business. It's quite different. So I found myself quite a capable man to run a business, and I still think I am, but it didn't come without challenges. Choosing the product was one of them. I suppose, I've read a few articles and whatnot about how different people that sell in Amazon would suggest you to go into a product or another. But I suppose I've always been a little bit of a contrarian. I don't like following the herd. So most information I read at the time suggested you not to go for oversized products, and suggested you to hopefully or preferably to have some products that could be shipped by air. And I thought, well, if everyone's doing that, then there's not going to be much competition. So I did try to look a little bit beyond that, but always keeping in mind that I wanted something that would retain its value, that it wouldn't go out of fashion, or that it would have some technological development that could get obsolete quickly. And so I selected a set of products like that, and then I went into the sort of keyword research studies. At first, I looked for something that I would feel comfortable with, like a list of categories, and then I went into analyzing where the opportunities were. And I decided that it would be better to start in Europe because of this category of products was much less competed in Europe. So that's how I decided to go for this niche. And I kind of proved right. Very quickly we started selling and achieved best-selling position in Spain, Italy, and France. It took us a while longer, but we achieved it as well in Germany, where these type of products are more successful within Europe. And that's where that's how I started. That's how everything became real.
Yeah, that's a pretty solid answer for sure. It sounds like you had a very logical approach to, like you say, figuring out which niche that you were going to go for. Like you say, just breaking it down really and cancelling out some of the things that you were going to choose and eventually landing on this niche in particular based on your interests. So yeah, that definitely sounds great. I just want to touch on the fact that you're mentioning about, your journey wasn't without its challenges. I mean, looking back on your experience, is there anything that you learned while you were building the business that you felt, like any strategies or anything like that you felt didn't really work?
I've learned so much. It would take a lot more time than just an interview to name it. In fact, I may have to write a book, even if just for myself, of all the many mistakes that I've done. There are way too many books out there telling you how to do things, but very few telling you what not to do. I'll say one of the things that became a challenge for myself was I was probably overly ambitious, coming from a background where I've been working for some of the biggest companies in the world. I could see the whole picture. I knew what it was needed to be a multi-channel seller worldwide, internationally. But between the theory and the practice, there's a big journey and a big difference. And it's not the same being part of a dream team of a big corporation than running things on your own. And so I suppose what I would do different, trying to make this short, I wouldn't have started the way I started as a multi-channel company and multi-country from day one as well. I think I would have taken a more step-by-step approach, because what's happened is that by starting multi-channel, it was difficult for me to be focused while learning this world. So I never achieved the best I could in every market. And that's why you will see that we're a company that is selling all these accounts, as you mentioned earlier, and WooCommerce, eBay, Cdiscount, but we almost reversed the strategy where right now we're mostly focused in Amazon FBA. Over the last year, what I've done is refocusing my efforts to make sure that my business is a very successful one in Amazon. And we pretty much reached that. By all means, there's more that can and should be done, but we're in a privileged position within Amazon. And I feel that now is the time to leverage and empower these other channels. When I started slightly over 2 years ago, I went full blast in all marketplaces. And yeah, we did sell in all marketplaces, but it was too challenging just for myself. I think that's one thing I would change. Sometimes just taking things a little bit more step by step, even if you're capable of seeing the whole picture, if that makes sense.
Yeah, most definitely does. I mean, let's just expand that train of thought and let's just keep going with that and give some of our listeners a bit more insight into the actual work that goes into maintaining this business. If we just talk about the marketing side of things, can you describe what you currently do for marketing for the business?
Yeah, in terms of marketing, because what I've done with the brand is refocus it as an Amazon brand. And while we still have the foundation, the capabilities to go multi-channel, but within Amazon, our marketing efforts are mainly PPC. So we go aggressive in PPC because as a philosophy and as a way to build a brand, we want to be positioned as a strongest leader. So we always want to be not necessarily the best seller per se, but we want to be there in the top. And we achieve that. So it's mostly PPC. And we do have, I think one of the things I did from day one, and that for me would be a success, something that the company did from day one. And I think was to define the brand very well in terms of not just a nice logo, like sometimes people refer to brand. And we have a document that describes the personality, the values of the brand, the target market, who are we selling to, how are we doing this. Trying to create a brand is more than just, pretty pictures and a logo. And that's something that I've been very passionate about from day one. I'm very humble in terms of the resources that I had to give it, but the plan was ambitious from day one. So that's just the way I've tried to communicate with the messages to the customers, from the way that I've tried to communicate in social media and so on, basically. And I think that helps the brand to really differentiate from our competitors. The products itself are difficult to differentiate, but when you present yourself as a truly genuine and different brand than the others, that makes you stand out. I don't know
Yeah.
if I answered the question, but
No, absolutely. I think that's a good answer. I think I understand where you're coming from with that. I mean, I was just going to ask you: does the majority of your traffic come from organic reach, or is it paid advertising, or a mix of both?
it's a mix of both. And it depends on the month and how aggressive I want to go, depending also on the stock. So most of the stock will come always in containers because of the volume. And so that means that you have spikes of more stock than ideal, and then reaching out to almost stock out because of the nature of it. It's not cost effective to supply regularly. So restock every sort of 3 months or so. So yes, in terms of the spend and the mix of organic and PPC traffic, it depends. When as we get an order fulfilled and arrives to our warehouse, we want to be aggressive. We want to be aggressive with the PPC traffic. But once that product is well positioned and we see that it's performing well, we want to reduce the PPC. Sometimes we pause it. Some of our products are very well positioned for now 2 years as the best selling product in the category. It's got many reviews, very positive, very complimentary. So the Amazon algorithm does the work for us on those. But you got to stay alert. That's basically what I do. I just stay alert, and I switch from investing heavily in PPC to very little to even sometimes none at all.
Yeah, for sure. I think that makes sense. Can you describe on a day-to-day basis, or maybe on a weekly basis, what is the type of work that you do to maintain the business?
So, I mean, this is a business that currently demands very little time for any owner. But if I could summarize this quickly, it would be basically first customer service. Very easy to delegate, but it doesn't take a lot of time for us right now. It takes me about an average of an hour a day, and it keeps me very close to the customers and helps me understand what they want out of our products. Checking the sales, but beyond just, glancing over the tool, well, I'll just start by glancing, but then I review the tacos the previous day. How are we trending for the month? If we're going to meet our target. From then, there's always some small action to take, where I will bring the analysis down to the SKU and see whether I'm overspending PPC in one SKU or not, or underspending. If there's any spike on returns in any of the SKUs, that can take, from as little as 30 minutes, again, 2 hours a day, depending on the day. And then some handling a lot of the nonsenses of Amazon in terms of going into things like performance indices issues, be it the brilliant NCX tool that sometimes makes it really hard for us, potentially suspended ASINs or things like this. But it doesn't happen that often. And I suppose the other one is just logistics, making sure that our sales are meeting our forecast and the production is in place. But that's not something that I do daily. I would do not even weekly, to be honest. Probably bi-weekly, just check on the inventory, check on the supply orders, and make sure that everything is working okay. And yeah, some little things, but not a lot. There's an opportunity for the business to do a lot more. But as it stands right now with my 3 little kids, I'm very comfortable with the very few hours that I spend on it.
Yeah, that makes sense. Let's say, for example, Anthony, that I was interested in buying your business, but I'm not familiar with the niche or Amazon FBA. What would you recommend are some of the skills or requirements that I should brush up on before taking on the business?
It's a very good question. I would say, first of all, because I've been sort of a one-man band business for quite some time now, I've had some help here and there in the past, but I'm on my own. I've realized I didn't have the systems that were all in my head. So as part of this exercise with Empire Flip is to list my business, I have started and I'm nearly completed the creation of the popular SOPs. So I've created I put down some of the systems and some of the tasks that I recurrently do and so on. So that's going to be helpful to pass the torch to a buyer. But even before that, I had a lot of documentation in terms of what the brand is, who the brand is, what is it that we make and what is it that we do. Important distinction there. So there's a lot of documentation that can be read. I would suggest to anyone that gets into any category, but certainly for my category, to really try to understand. And I very, very often I recommend and I welcome people that are sort of outsiders to the category, maybe people that have never used or bought this type of product or any other type of product, because what it brings is a fresh pair of eyes, an outsider view that will help you to be creative with things that you that you can do for that product that maybe someone that is too in it has never even thought of.
Yeah, it makes sense. So it sounds like you basically cover a lot of the operational side of things with the SOPs, and you recommend basically to try and come in here and really get to grips with the branding and the products in order to have a, like you say, a fresh pair of eyes on what it is that the company's actually offering. Is that right?
That's all right. And actually, on top of that, I do have a plan for growth. I am working for growth right now. I'm not sitting here waiting for a buyer to come and snap the business off my hands. I keep working on the business, and I recognize that the situation that it is now, the next natural step is to work for growth. So I do have a plan for growth. I personally have decided, and I'm confident that I know what the next steps are for the brand to continue to grow and the sales and profit to continue to grow. And that's something that would obviously be shared and discussed with a buyer, should a buyer find the business interesting.
Yeah, for sure. That sounds great. Buyers would want to know that why at this time you're selling the business instead of keeping it or growing it.
Few answers to that question. First of all, I'm not sure I would say it's very profitable. It has become profitable. It has had rocky patches, and I think it's the right time for me because I've got 3 little kids that I haven't spent enough time with them over the last 2 years. Caught out between 2 businesses. Then the last straw was when COVID struck. The 3 little kids out of school. It was great to be with them, but at the same time made me realize, how much time I haven't spent with them. I just want a break. I want to reposition myself and probably just continue in this world with some other ventures and refocus my attention to real estate, where, on the other hand, and another leg of this answer to your question is, I've got another thriving business and I have to see where do I want to put my efforts right now. And honestly, right now, I'm starting to get my attention more focused towards my real estate business, where I've got great opportunities for growth and I will need the liquidity to successfully grow it.
Yeah, that absolutely makes sense, for sure. I just want to ask them, with this business, if you were to keep it, what are some of the ways that you would try to grow it?
Right away, multi-channel is something that I would put attention to because the foundation was already laid out 2 years ago. And then over the last 12 months, consciously, just to improve profitability, I pulled it all out. We still are selling in some of these channels, but with little effort and little attention as well. So I have the tools, I have the software, I have the accounts, and it would be relatively effortless. It basically would mean that I would dedicate more time to this. So we would move from the average 10 hours a day to maybe 20 hours a day, potentially even more hours. And that's where, I would look into multi-channel. To do that efficiently, I would recruit a virtual assistant probably, just to help with all the different issues that are going to come from different channels. And the other one is to expand the product portfolio. I would say those 3 things are the most immediate things that I'm working on them. I think a buyer with the appetite not just to buy cash flow, but to also grow it, should focus right away on multi-channel, get at least one assistant to help you dedicate all the right time to all these different channels. And on the other hand, expand the product portfolio. And one little sort of golden nugget there is my products have some form of seasonality. Again, coming back to one of your first questions, why you chose this product. And I said, I'm a contrarian. Many of these forums or courses or seminars out there will tell you stay away from seasonal products. Well, I'm pretty happy with my seasonal product, I have to say. And I think if you want to look at the reasons why they advise not to get seasonal product, they can be fixed. And that's one of the things I'm working on. There are other products within the category I sell on that have the opposite seasonality. So that's definitely my next move if I continue running the business. And that's definitely the move that I would suggest to a buyer, is to focus on those products that are also in quite good demand, but they're also part of a similar niche in the same category, but have the opposite seasonality, because that way you will achieve a more flat sales curve, helping with cash flow for sure.
Yeah, that makes sense. What do you think are some of the biggest risks with the business that a buyer should be aware of?
That's a good one. There's a low barrier of entry for almost any product category in Amazon. At least any private label product category out there. But my products require some form of certification that my suppliers will provide for us. So that already lowers a little bit the barrier. But you have to stay alert. I mean, one of the things that I've done also to minimize that risk is to patent a feature that is being added to all my products now. That, it helps differentiate, it makes the product more cool, but also it puts an extra layer of protection against competitors. So that's probably okay. Cash flow is one of the keys because of seasonality. Again, your cash flow can go negative at times, but I've already put one of the potential solutions to that is to expand the portfolio to the opposite season type of products. I can think of many more. I think in terms of logistics, that is a risk, and I suppose in many ways is the supply chain structure or business model. With Amazon and their constant changes, many seasoned Amazon sellers out there that are probably also looking to buy a product, they will know this. For those of you that are new to Amazon, you better caught up on this very quickly. But Amazon is constantly changing for the benefit of their business and the marketplace. And one of the recent changes has been in terms of Amazon FBA storage limits and some restrictions in terms of FBA shipments and whatnot. So that's something that is a risk. And again, one of the solutions I'm currently working on, maybe I should put a little bit more urgency onto the project, but one of the solutions for this is to have a good network of 3PL partners and not depend fully or exclusively in Amazon FBA. I have been very consciously using Amazon for everything, even from the shipping containers from China. This has been a service that I've been doing with Amazon for quite some time because it facilitated and it minimized the hours of work that I had to put. It was great in that sense. But on the other hand, when problem like COVID strikes or a change on the inventory performance indicators comes up at the Amazon level, then you can be left a little bit too dependent on Amazon. I suppose the risk is don't depend too much in Amazon. So that probably brings it back to one of the things that I've been mentioning throughout the interview is the multi-channel, but I suppose not just multi-channel for sales, but be in many ways, inverted commas here, but multi-channel for 3PL, so for fulfillment. Just don't be 100% dependent on Amazon for fulfillment. As great as it looks, it is putting your business at risk. It's making the business less dependent on you and more dependent on Amazon. And you don't want to leave your business left to Amazon devices or to its own devices.
Okay, great, Anthony. So in terms of support, I just want to check, are you offering the standard amount of support, like 30 days of email and 2 Skype calls?
Certainly, I think it's only fair to give them, that level of support if you want to pass the torch and make sure that your brand lives on. So yeah, I'll be more than happy to provide that support. And I'm open to even find some agreement for a mid-term retainer agreement in terms of consultancy service if the buyer felt that he or she needed more time to have some support.
That's great. Are you willing to commit to a non-compete?
Yes, under the right circumstances, of course.
Great. And are you open to negotiating an earn-out?
No, at this point in time, I'm not looking for an earn-out type of deal. I'm looking for cash buyers.
Yeah, I think I understand. It does make sense. Last question for you then, Anthony. Putting yourself in the shoes of a buyer, why do you think this is a business worth acquiring?
Well, I think it's because with this business, you buy more than just cash flow. With this business, you buy a true, genuine brand in a category of products where brand is important. It's important to the buyer. It's important to the value of the business. All the categories may have potentially, but higher margins and potentially a higher turnaround on the inventory. It may be easier to do, but it will be very difficult to create a brand. There is an element of lifestyle to my products, of where the brand can reach out to the heart of the buyers. And it's something that is in many ways priceless for a business. It's very difficult to size the value of that on the early years of any business. But working on it from the day one means that one day, 3, 5 years, 10 years down the line, you're going to have a solid customer base that really care about your products, that are repurchasing products, that are recommending your products to their friends. That would be it.
Yeah, I think that's fantastic. Is there anything else that you think you'd like to share that you think I might have missed?
One thing also to mention, and for sure it will come up when someone looks into the numbers of business. This business started in Europe. It was a conscious reason to minimize sort of the attention of competitors and start in marketplaces that were perhaps less mature. It's now, fully developed into all marketplaces of North America and Europe, but it still has some way to go in the US. We just launched a new product in the US and it's going really well. But there is still room for improvement. There is room for the US to be as big as Europe. And I know Amazon US is bigger than Europe as a whole, but for this category, it's an important category in Europe, perhaps more so than in the US. So the two markets are going to be relatively comparable in terms of size. But in the US, you will be dealing with one market, one language on top of one country, while in Europe, you still have to handle 5, now 6 countries, plus 2 countries for storage. So, I think growing in the US is definitely my focus. And I didn't mention it before, but there is still a lot of room for improvement. And profit is getting so much better. Because basically, I launched in the US just about 9 months ago or so. And it was during low season. So it was a slow start. It was a bit painful. We knew that, but just wanted to get started anyways. And so we have to compromise it with pricing, the short-term profitability of that marketplace. But we're in a position among the leading brands organically for our products in the US. So that's good. And that means that our profit is very rapidly growing in the US, and so are our sales. And that's something else to keep a close eye on and see the evolution of this business in the USA.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point that you make there about expanding in the US and capitalizing on that. So, that's everything that I think we need to cover for today. So thank you so much for your time today, Anthony.
Well, thank you. And thanks for everyone out there listening and potentially interested in the business. And I'll be happy to work with you guys and with any potential buyer. Thank you.
All right, everyone. Thanks for listening. To learn more and see if this listing has already been sold, head over to empireflippers.com/marketplace and search for listing number 47864. If you're watching this on YouTube, click the link in the description to go straight to the listing. Once you've unlocked this listing, you'll be given everything you need to know about this business. So until next time, enjoy your digital journey.